Hey, how's everybody on this wonderful and nice Thanksgiving Day? At least it is in my location of Birmingham, Alabama. Due to us not having any rain so far today in my location, but wherever you are, even if you don't have such pleasant weather, by the way, the weather in my location is just perfect. I'm still wishing you a happy Thanksgiving, happy and lovely Thanksgiving, even for you who don't plan on really doing anything, visiting family or any of that. But I digress. Okay, in today's video, though, I wanted to go into detail about the different times to use a colon, um, the punctuation mark, a colon, COLON. Okay, I'm going to start out one way by using a sentence with a, a main clause, which is mainly a sentence that doesn't need anything else to emphasize it or join it. You use doesn't really need a subordinate conjunction, so to speak, just to make the sentence sound more appropriate. Instead, okay, this is what I'm saying. Okay, I'm going to write a sentence as an example. He got what was coming to him. And the reason I went over some of my letters that I just wrote down was so you could be more easy to understand it and make it more legible. Anyway, he got what was coming to him. Okay, this right here is more so of a main clause, which means that just judging by this one sentence or statement itself, it doesn't really need anything else to complete it. Now, even though it really doesn't need anything to complete it, and that's my point of using going into detail about when to use the punctuation mark, a colon, I'm going to complete it by saying this: a present tense. Okay, now what you see is how it's mainly one sentence, but my point of using the colon and adding a prison sentence was just so the second part of the sentence, a prison sentence, could be able to complete the entire statement. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a point of using the colon. Instead, after writing, he got what was coming to him, I could have just ended it with a period. Once again, that was my point of adding a colon, just to be able to add a second statement, to complete the whole entire sentence. He got what was coming to him, colon, a prison sentence. Another time you could use a colon is when you may do an introductory, as far as introducing a letter. For instance, um, you may address, first and foremost, when you get ready to address somebody, you may say, for instance, dear Mr., or I just put Miss Moore. By the way, that's my last name. Although I go by the handle usually at Capri Learning, but this is just to introduce someone while writing or typing a letter. Although most people usually type letters more so than they used to back in the days. And I'm going over this R to make it more legible. This right here is an S. Dear Miss Moore. Okay, another time you could do so is when while doing dialogue. For instance, um let's just say there was a speaker during a ceremony. I could start it off by saying this: the MC, which is short for Master of Ceremonies, an acronym, had found out some not so great news that let me adjust my camera. The performer had injured her leg. So let me read it to you. The MC had found out some not so great news that the performer had injured her leg. Now, this one sentence, the MC had found out some not so great news, could be just one sentence without needing anything else to complete it. And if I were to just write this one sentence, let's just say hypothetically, without adding that the performer had injured her leg, I could have just plain and simple in this first sentence, the MC had found out some not so great news, and that would have been what you call an independent clause, because it would have been already a complete sentence that stand it off to right then and there without needing a second statement, so to speak, to complete it. So another example is when you're writing ratios. For instance, in math, you may have heard of ratios, and let me write this and symbol again to make it more clearer. Percentage. Now, one example of that would be I would say 4, 16. Once again, this is pertaining to ratios and percentages. And this just is a hypothetical example of what you may see if you may be doing math pertaining to ratios and percentages. Also, a Bible scripture. That's another example. Anytime you're doing Bible scriptures, you may see, for instance, John and 3 for chapter 3, and then verse 16. Anytime, and I do mean anytime you see Bible verses and you may like to shorten them, this is the most shortest way to go by doing so. Anytime you may write the chapter, which would be chapter 3, along with the verse. You always, no matter what, write a colon in between use of the chapter, which is the 3rd chapter of the book of John, and the verse or scripture, which would be verse of scripture 16. Okay, this is going to conclude my video, and I hope all my information was pretty informative, both pretty informative and pretty helpful as well. If you may happen to have any questions, feel free to comment right down below in the comment section. Also, like the video, share both the video and the channel so the channel could end up becoming much more mainstream and viral. Once again, have a nice Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. And most of all, don't forget to subscribe to the channel either, because I will be releasing more upcoming content as well. Until next time, have a blessed day.